before it's time. My slogan is very similar, except I leave off that last part. We will sell no wine. That's my entire slogan. Because we're not commercial.
There's a lady there too.
And,
Is that to cleanse the palate?
I've been doing this for 45 years. You might say I'm not commercial, so drink at your own risk, but I have for 45 years. I'm fine. Got to be over 70 years old.
Well, now, we have not asked Ann about that, if you're still fine, Steve, so.
Well, she's making me a pineapple upside down cake right now, so I think she thinks I'm fine.
Okay, that's good.
All right.
You're right.
So hopefully everyone has taken half a note card and put name and contact info on there.
And that's also going to be for the drawing? Are you having a drawing? I'm
Well,
sorry.
yeah, we'll have a drawing at the end of this, and you'll get a bottle of wine. And anyone else that wants to talk to me afterwards and say, but please, could I also have a bottle of wine? You'll probably get a bottle of wine. So anyway, but first choice to whoever's name is drawn. But,
Oh, where are the little people? Email or phone number? Here.
Okay. So I guess I've done this for 5 or 6 years, or 5 or 6 times, maybe skipped a year somewhere in there. So we got started making wine because we got a case of homemade wine for our wedding in 1978, and went and talked to the older gentleman. I mean, he was probably almost as old as I am now, but when you're just getting married, it seems like he was an old guy, but very, very good at that, because it was white grape wine, which I would have said, no, I don't like that, and I still don't prefer it, and I haven't been very successful in making some, although I do have an example of some Niagara wine that I made. So I just made wine from kits for a couple of years, and found out what won't work, like pokeberries you absolutely can't make wine out of, and, so there were more nuanced lessons than that, but I threw away a lot of wine in the early years, but fortunately I didn't try to make a lot. The early successes were mostly wild grape, wild plum, and choke cherry. By 1983, when our first daughter, Shay, was born that year, by winter we were staying near KU Med, where she went through the first of 4 heart surgeries. When I would go home, maybe I would check the wine, but we were in Kansas City quite a bit that winter. We bonded with other parents and shared our wine. And that was many years before we encountered an occasional flaw in wild grape. Which brings up, we're going to get to taste wild grape. It is wild grape wine. It's right here. So what we have is the 2021 wild grape. This one? Yep. Let's pour a little bit of that, but just a little bit, because this is the one that I think is not quite right, because it has what I say is plantesque. That would mean like there's a touch of the green to it. So wild grapes, as they ripen mostly in the shade, that tends to, they're at some risk of having a flavor that is what they call plantesque. And it doesn't happen every year, and it depends on which vine you can get it off of. Sometimes I have to wait 7 or 8 years to find any wild grapes, but the last few years I've been able to find quite a few. The other example that we'll follow this with is the wild grape from last year, which thankfully didn't have this problem at all. And I'm making some this year, which I thought had the problem, but as it's been a month and it becomes less over time. Even the 2021 becomes a little bit less over time. By the way, Shay's fine, grew up, married an Irishman, lives in Killarney with our 2 grandsons, 12 and 13. But, so yeah, he's the one that first told me it tastes plantesque, so my son-in-law Dave. So anyway,
And I do have a dump container if you don't want to drink all of it. And that is perfectly kosher to not drink your whole sample.
yeah. So this green can show up in floral wine, which we've really gotten into since making elderflower 15 years ago. And there's some elderflower over here, but I probably haven't tasted the other wild grape yet, right?
Do you want to taste the other wild grape?
You want to see what
To
it,
see the difference between the
yeah,
two?
what it should taste like. This is also the coldest bottle of wine in the building because I just realized this morning that I had the last jug of 2024 they call cold stabilized. You can put it in.
Oh, it's pretty cold.
Yeah. Now, I never refrigerate any of my wine. Some people like to have wine refrigerated, but mine is only at room temperature down in my basement, which is one of the cooler places in the house. So, anyway, the choke cherry has this learning curve. We used to. You're having some wild grape right now.
Bless you.
I'll say a few basic things that don't have to.
This is a 24.
Allergies.
24 wild grape.
Wild grape. Oh, what you're getting out of the 24, yeah. So some basic things here is this, you might say, is a primary fermenter. And normally it would be a 5-gallon thing, but this is really a boutique batch of an unusual wine, which many of my wines are quite unusual. This is hackberry. And I just put the yeast on it last night. So it is got a nice froth on there. I haven't even stirred it yet. But normally it'll be in a primary fermenter for 4 to 7 days, depending on, and you sample it and say if you think like it's starting to change and not in a good way, then stop it right then and siphon it out into a, in this case it can just go into a couple of gallon jugs, but the bigger ones, this you would think, well this must be something that you'd expect 5 gallons of, but actually this is a very odd thing too. This is corncob wine. Started out in a 5-gallon container, comes into here, and you can see it's still bubbling through the airlock here. It doesn't let any contaminants in, and it can breathe. And so, and one reason it's still breathing is it was pretty much done. It acted like it was pretty much done, but I tasted it and I said, no, you can't be done. So I added 4 more pounds of sugar. And so it was down here before, I mean, even though the sugar's going to dissolve, it adds volume to everything. And so, also you can't add all that sugar at one time. This would be like Mount Vesuvius. And I have had that happen. I learned that lesson the hard way. So if you were going to do that, you better have it down to here and be ready to put the heel of your hand on there. But anyway, that's perking right along. The other thing that will make it go up, like I learned this the hard way too, something called bentonite, which helps. This is murky right now. And you see the corncob wine, I think it's over there, it gets really clear. But you use bentonite and it's got something about negative and positive charges. They bond and they settle out these things and you're left with a very clear wine. But when it first goes in, it's going to foam up crazy, like almost like sugar.
So you talk bentonite like the clay?
Yeah, just like you put in a farm pond to stop it from leaking. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, like for winemaking, it's just these little gray pellets. Works pretty good. They have a secondary thing that has kind of been developed as, if bentonite doesn't make it as clear as you want it, then you try this called, I think it's called Quick Clear, made by a company called Liquor Quick. but you put that in and it doesn't cause its foam up, but it's a two-step solution. Put this in and followed by solution B, and it does settle it down overnight. I mean, to become crystal clear. So some of these that are so clear, like over there, that apple, it's had both treatments. So let's see, if you're not tasting anything right now, we could look at these floral wines. Talk about that. Just in the last, made the first floral wine with elderflower probably 15 years ago, and we have some elderflower here.
Is that the way you want us to taste?
Elderflower? It's not all the way full, probably. Is it? Is that it?
But it'll be enough.
Okay. Elderflower. One of those.
You want to try that one?
Yeah.
Because they get to try all of them, or whatever they want to try
Well,
afterwards.
whatever they want to do going around, but there's some really interesting things here. Elderflower is a good representative of a floral wine, and it's the first one we tried and been pretty successful with. The very first time I made it, it tasted pretty good, but it didn't smell very good. And it's gotten to where it's okay on I'm not sure what was wrong the first time around on that, but this is a thing that can happen with wine, and when you're experimenting very broadly, as I do, and I don't write down very many recipes. I've got a basic thing that I go through, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But other floral wines we have here that you might check out later if you want. It's the first time that I've made two. People always ask me, well, then do you make dandelion wine? And I always say no, because I can't trick enough kindergartners into pulling the petals off. But I made dandelion wine. That's it. That's all I have. But if you really want to try some and have never had any, I say, what is the big deal? Other than it would be very hard to make. It seems to take on, this was supposed to be made with the zest of an orange. All I taste really is the zest of the orange. So, something that I think has more potential is sunflower petal wine. First time I've ever made that. So that's a weird one. Hibiscus wine. Made that. This is the third year I've made that, and this is from the second year. The first year I had to throw it all away because of plantesque. And we have peony, which was a big hit last year, and I made 5 gallons of it this year. We have wild rose mead, thanks to some people that have honey that do some trading with us. And we have knockout rose. So the briar rose, or wild rose mead, I also have briar rose somewhere here. And it's super sweet. I think it's up here somewhere. Yeah, if you like the stuff that's really sweet, it's the briar rose. Oh, here it is. It should be here with the florals. Anyway, briar rose.
My dad used to make dandelion wine, but I don't remember if it got cleared or not.
Yeah.
I think the Suther.
I didn't bother using either bentonite or liquor quick on that.
No.
Didn't have enough to try
In those
anything like
days,
that.
they didn't have such a thing.
Well,
They just
yeah.
made it. I know they made it and drank it.
Right.
That's all I know.
Right. Wouldn't have to worry about it then, right?
Yeah.
When we first made chokecherry, I said it had a learning curve. I used to leave it on the berries too long, and the pits began to impart bitterness, because they are mostly pit, and didn't realize that. I said, well, 7 days. You need to taste it and sample it, and if it gets to where it's changing in a bad way, as I say, then you need to move on. Much of the first 20 years went into a mixed drink that we called Choke and Coke. When a lot of gatherings for young people, you're supposed to BYOB. We would just bring that and some Coke, or in my wife's case, Pepsi. So that was a way to save money in a way, right? While learning.
Might as well.
I like that elderflower.
Yeah,
It's good.
yeah. We're going to do more and more with floral wines. By the way, so I've got 3 of these packets of hibiscus flowers, dried between the pages of old books that no one will probably ever read again. Mostly. You can dry them in the oven or in a dehydrator, but that's the way it works best for us.
Steve, can you speak to the amount of the flowers or product compared to the quantity you
What
produce?
went wrong with the first batch of that is I didn't realize that the base of the petals on a hibiscus is very thick, and so it's got almost a sap in it. So as you can snip anything that's thicker like that off early on, or if you let them dry a little bit, it's still a little shriveled, but it may be easier to handle with scissors. But when I cut that out, then it seems to take care of the plant-pest problem with that.
When will your book be coming out with all these tips on your wine experience?
Well, there's a guy online named Jack Keller that I could never surpass his vast amount of knowledge. He must have, but there's people are curating a website for him. He passed away probably, I don't know, a dozen years ago or so, but he had been, since there was an internet, he was on there putting out recipes and stuff down in Texas. And if you can imagine, can you make wine out of that? Did Jack Keller ever try it? Then, you know,
He tried.
yeah.
So the peony is beautiful color.
Uh-huh.
So you just pick when it's blooming, full
Yeah.
bloom?
Yeah, pick them when they bloom, and in their case, they don't have to be dried out. Like it's critical for the hibiscus, but for those, I make sure I don't have any green pieces or anything that would be thicker like that. Just put them in the freezer, and when you so when you're done in the season, they quit blooming, then you put them into boiling water for maybe 10 minutes, and then when you add lemon juice to that, the color changes rapidly in the presence of the acid. So that's the main key to making a lot of the floral wines.
Was that just a red peony or a burgundy
Yeah.
color? Or
Yeah, that was red, and it included just a dash of the burgundy and a dash of the white, which balanced each other out and went back to red. That's where I could get them. A lot of them came from well, I'd say 60% of them came from our place and 40% from Burgess Ranch. They have a lot of peonies.
Okay.
So, wild plum, really hard for us to master, even though I've been working on it for 40-some years. For one thing, you have to sometimes wait 5 or 6 years before you find enough wild plum to even try it. They're generally too bitter. 6 or 7 years ago, I learned to restrict the time that the plums had contact with the must. Simmer, and I would remove I freeze everything and then simmer it, and I would take the pits out of just enough wild plums to cover the surface floating primary fermenter, and would basically, after they simmer, I would strain out that juice. I guess I would say I would let them simmer, strain off juice, add more juice, simmer a little more, until you've got enough that you've got your 5 gallons. So, and it takes about 5-gallon bags of wild plums to make 5 gallons. So then I'm simmering, but you don't boil it. You just like maybe 180 degrees or something. Simmer for 15-20 minutes. And then they can sit, you can turn off the burners and let them sit longer, and it's going to extract more juices into the water. You keep draining off that way, but don't actually try to do it with very many of the plums themselves, and certainly no pits. But still, so a couple of years, 3 years ago, I had really excellent luck doing that, just like would have, if there were prizes for wild plum wine, it would have won. This year, not so much. This is the gallery of problems here. Someone who was just kidding me, implying my wine wasn't very good, gave me this with a name tag on it that said Rot Gut Rod. And so somebody gets the booby prize every year, and this year, I really look forward to getting a kind of like my own kitchenette in the basement, so I didn't have to start wine upstairs and carry it down carpeted steps. I'm 70 years old, and if I trip, it's going to do way more than break a glass carboy. It's probably going to break my head on the stone wall. So I wanted to get away from that, but there's some new plumbing involved. So I ended up, after I thought, well, I'm ready to go, I made a 5-gallon batch of what I call wild plum packs. So the poly tubing that they now use in plumbing has to have several hundred gallons go through it before you want to make wine with it. I never buy distilled water to make wine with. Every recipe will say use distilled water because they want to eliminate, what's with your water. In this case, problem. So if you do want to taste anything that tastes like wild plum, and this would have probably been the best of 4 batches I made, but nope. I don't think it'll age out, but I'm going to keep it around. So I kept the hibiscus that I threw away. I kept it for a year. It never changed. So I don't expect that to change really. So I have some wild plum that doesn't have that problem, but it has other problems. So this wild plum, the first batch that I made, is beautiful. It had both treatments to make it clearer, but it's a little thin. So I like it a little more full-bodied. This one is a little more full-bodied, but also a little more bitter. This one was so bitter that I decided the only way I could save it was to make it super sweet. It belongs over there at the other end. This is very sweet, tangy wild plum wine. So
Steve, can you take the wine and make jelly out of the wine?
actually, you mentioned that. We did that this year with some choke cherry wine that I thought was done and had ended up too sweet. And I thought it was not very strong. But anyway, so Ann totally disagrees and said, oh, I can smell, all I really smell here is alcohol. So anyway, I must have put in too much sugar and the alcohol killed the yeast and still had too much sugar left. It's like I wasn't using scales or anything like that. Yeah, it looks like about 10 pounds, Anyway.
The art.
Right. But yeah, and I would say it's pretty successful in making something that you could use for pancakes or something, but it's a bit runny. It didn't gel very much, even though she ran it through for a second time. So you're supposed to be able to do that, but in our experience, maybe with a dry wine or something. So I don't know. We may try it again sometime, but she's leery. She'll probably say, "Hey, we tried that." Anyway, so we only made 5 or 10 gallons a year until about 15 years ago. Then we tried to do crazy things. In 2018, we made 120 gallons, and the record was in 2022, we made 180 gallons. Keep in mind, we don't sell any of this, and I don't drink it all. So we need a lot of friends. Our label says made especially for our friends, and we really need friends because otherwise I'd be a wreck. So I'm going to keep making it, but not at that level. We're probably making 50 or 60 gallons this year, and so in my golden years, that's probably an average of what we'll make.
What's your favorite variety? Which is your favorite one?
I'd say choke cherry.
Choke cherry?
Choke cherry, it's usually fairly dry, and it's just so versatile. It goes great with chocolate. It goes great with cheese. It goes great with steak. It's just like, I don't know. That's my go-to.
Have you ever tried aronia berries?
Aronia, what?
Aronia berries, which is like a choke cherry. They're grown up in the very north part of the state. We had some schools that worked with that product, and I know that Nebraska has it as a special harvest.
They grow at the friend's house, Alquist's, And so yes, I have made it, and I've got a bottle here somewhere. There is Aronia wine here.
Okay.
It's very different than choke cherry.
Okay, and yeah, I like it. It's a bitter kind of thing
Yeah.
too.
Oh, here it is.
Okay,
It's
great.
right here next to
That's
it.
interesting.
Yeah, we have Aronia if you want it. It's next to the
Corn cob.
Corn cob.
yeah, next to the corn cob. We also, so that's corn cob there. That is last year's corn cob, and there's behind it is this year's corn cob, and that is possibly worth tasting just to see how different they are from each other, but how much they will change over time. I don't know. See, this corn cob, you know, the corn harvest isn't very long gone, right? And we get out there, no, right here on this end,
This one?
yeah.
No, it says apple.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, yeah.
These
Corn
two
cob.
said corn cob.
That's it, you're right. I was wrong.
Okay, so which
Yeah.
one is,
Well, the clear one is last year's.
and this is
That's this year's, like this.
that? Okay, so
Yeah.
which should you taste first?
Well, I'd say probably the good stuff.
Taste the good stuff.
I was told putting this
Right.
over.
On the back counter.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
wherever you want it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So do you use sweet corn or field corn for your corn
I think we
cobs?
should taste the bad stuff first. Well, not bad, but a lot of this.
What do you guys think?
I'd say, give me the good stuff.
Okay.
Because, you know, we're gonna have something queued up that they can, keyed up or whatever, they can go right into something better, all right, make it good. It's not that bad. It's just,
This was
it's like it's, he ain't wrong, it's just different. It's one of the,
this year, last year.
Last year.
Oh, okay, let me get, you want some butter?
Steve, so do you use sweet corn or
okay, I
field
have
corn?
tried it with sweet corn, and you'll find recipes that say, well, you're having sweet corn, just save the cobs. We had no luck at all with that.
There.
So we use field corn or red cobs and stuff. You do have to watch and say, okay, they parked the combine for the night. And then go out there and make sure that you get them before any bad things can happen to you. And just including something as pure as the rain, because that could mess it up a lot, or something tries to eat it, or
Well, I always have a lot of sweet corn
yeah,
cobs that I could give you, the bushels.
it might
It's
be,
clear like it is. Our jellies always ended up kind of pinkish.
it might be something to try. If you're trying to taste something here,
You've got a great job.
we have a little bit left of what is called Falk's Blue Damson wine.
Oh yeah, that's good.
There's a little bit of that left.
I did not call you this year. We had damson plums. You know what I decided to do is make jelly.
Make jelly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a 5-gallon bucket to make 11, or I made two batches of jelly,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I thought, I need to make jelly this year.
Yeah. Well,
So that's why you didn't get any from
that's all right. I
mine.
definitely had enough to do. We, the Alquists had a little ravine in a hay meadow that they had never noticed before that was just full of wild plums. We had
Oh.
4 or 5-gallon buckets full of
Oh.
wild plums right there.
Okay.
I don't think I'm supposed to say that, but anyway. They're really in an obscure
That's
hidden
good.
location, so I guess that secret's pretty safe.
What about blackberries?
Blackberry, I have sweet blackberry wine here
That would be my favorite.
from Michelle Kufal Herman,
Huh.
and we're making another batch.
This is a newer one.
But anyway, so it turned out kind of light and sweet. Also have wild black raspberry, which we like, to the point where we stopped growing potatoes and put wild raspberry vines in our garden. So the strange things, you can tell I make wine out of strange things, but early on we made hackberry wine and hadn't made it since 2013. I think I tried it once earlier. Well, I think the other one I tried earlier, 2002, was Shumac. And we have some Shumac here from a batch intermediate in there, so about 10 or 12 years ago. And I'm going to make some more this winter. And
Is it safe?
the secret to Shumac,
Is it safe? too?
Oh, yeah. The only sumac that's poisonous is the whiteberry sumac. Well, we have, the pioneers made tea out of it. And,
Full of vitamin C.
yeah.
It's, buck, is it buck sumac?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Staghorn, I don't know. It's
Staghorn, there
what
you
we
go.
have
There
that
you go,
everybody
staghorn.
wants to get out of their
I
pastures.
don't like that one.
That works good. And so, yeah, we've got the sumac, just if that's something you want to taste, it's definitely here. I would say, so we wanted to diversify, which some people would, I mean, most people making wine, to say diversify, so we're going to do wild stuff or floral stuff. But when we decided to diversify, when I was about 50 years old, we planted 40 vines, and that soon increased to 50 vines. But you had to spray them with something to prevent black rot every week or two. And so maybe 8 times a year, and in those days I traveled quite a bit too. So it was hard to keep that up. But we made as many as 6 different varieties of tame grapes. And until about 3 or 4 years ago, the accumulated black rot, etc., got affected more and more of the vines to where a couple of years ago we didn't get any, and we haven't had any tame grapes since. But we've been able to find wild grapes the last 4 years. And exactly where I find them is a secret. I will not divulge. But I know which ones are in the shade and which ones are in the sun. But sometimes you can only find the ones in the shade. So I looked up, and so there's a yeast that is, like I said, is there, any way you can avoid plant test? And there is. And so also bring the fermenter out into the sun sometimes will help that, strangely enough. So I tried that too. And the wild grape that I tried that on, said I was a little bit worried. I don't think I brought any of this year's wild grape, but anyway, it's doing fine. And the plant test hint has gone away. So anyway, back to our roots of just looking for wild things, but we've gone as much as 20 miles away just for fun, because in May I like to drive the back roads and make sure that I check the maps and who got how much rain in the last week, because I go up into Nemaha and Marshall County, and up in there's a lot of roads that have not been abandoned because you need to get down to a farm field or something. But if it rains, you better have a four-wheel drive tractor perhaps. But anyway, I know some awesome sections of obscure roads in Marshall County that I won't tell you about, other than they're in Marshall County. So
you should really rename them back roads instead of Rocky Top.
yeah. Well, we have right at the base of our lane, God put on the south side a chokecherry grove that will supply 3 5-gallon buckets of chokecherries every year, and on the right side, wild grapes. And there are wild grapevines around. Only 10% of them will ever bear fruit, but this one does. So, thank you.
Yeah.
That's just fortunate. So we made wild rhubarb. I've actually also made a wild rhubarb mulberry at one time, and had never made mead, but thanks to our friends Robin and Dan Colderman, and that's where this, we call it our honeymoon wine, the Wild Rose Mead. And so we go to we go to Ireland a lot. We've been to a castle banquet where they greet you with mead, and then when they start the banquet, they mention why they do this. It's from honeymoon. The newly married couples would drink mead every for one moon, and it's supposed to be enhanced fertility. So watch
Of course.
Watch out for that. Yeah. So, anyway, as a joke, we give that with a colorful printed page about the roots of that. So I recently gave it to some friends on their 60th anniversary. So anyway, that's
What about apricot?
yeah, apricot. We have some friends that have apricots. We had an apricot tree once for a few years, but every time in the spring it would bloom wonderfully, and then the frost all gone just every time. But so we have
But I can't
we have friends. Some even pick them for us, and so anyway, this year I made 5 gallons of apricot this year, and I've got enough in the freezer to make 5 more gallons. But considering that all the fishing and hunting that we do are Ann is the hunter, because you know, I go, why would I try to get more meat in the freezer, because they're all like, anyway, it's a good problem to have. But the apricots aren't the bulkiest thing you can have in there, but if I had enough of this stuff to make 5 gallons, it would be okay if I kept it over. It wouldn't take up much room. Wild plums are probably the bulkiest deal, especially if you're going to be able to make 5 gallons of it. So we moved them out early on. So I don't know.
Did you talk about the 1929 raisin pineapple?
Oh yeah. That I think it's over there. So this is a recipe translated from a recipe card that said on it 1929 from my grandfather, who came over in 1921 from Germany, and was translated it from handwritten German. I was surprised that it called for a can of pineapple. So they were starting to can pineapple at that time in the colonies. So I thought, well, that's kind of odd. It also called for like half a cup of flour. Maybe that was their yeast nutrient. I don't know, but it's a strange thing. And it was like, everybody said, ooh, why did you even do that? It's so medicinal kind of a flavor. It takes, for 5 gallons of that, it took 10 pounds of raisins. So it's raisin pineapple. And it's a very full-bodied thing. In Germany, where I've been to Germany a few times because my dad is 100% German, he had cousins over there. Inside a door, a lot of times, and we have one inside our door, it's called a Schluckenspoon. And they would pour some brandy or something like this heavy wine into that and come, would you care for a schluck? You know, I said, sure. So I have some of that there, and I haven't actually tried it from the Schluckenspoon, but it's probably better from a glass, but you wouldn't want a big glass. So these are just various things that I use in the process. The basics are you need pectic enzyme and an acid blend or lemon juice. Sometimes something that is really plain, like corn cob, you might need grape tannin. That's what that is. If you want to back sweeten something, it's all done fermenting. You don't want to restart the fermentation. You stabilize it with potassium sorbate, and that will kill any yeast that tries to grow. When you put in the sugar, you're not going to have it foam up or anything if you put the potassium sorbate in. So then you can make it as sweet as you want to. So I don't know, probably a time to go around and see if there's anything you'd like to sample that I haven't, or anything you see on the list, I can bring the bottle over to you.
So your favorite's the chokeberry.
Choke cherry.
Choke cherry.
Yeah.
Choke cherry. Well, we can start with your favorite.
Right. Yeah.